liquid oxygen is really, really, really cold. So it's like negative 289 degrees Kelvin, right? Is that right, Roger?
Yeah.
I'm going way back in my respiratory. So that big metal drum is really like a refrigerator. So it keeps the liquid oxygen very cold. So the negatives of liquid, the positives are they last like 8 to 10 hours. But those little units, the negatives are if you fill it from your big unit and then you leave it, 24 hours later it's all going to evaporate. Because it's liquid, it's really cold, and then as it warms up in the coils, it turns to gas. That's what you're breathing in. But it also evaporates into the air. So within 24 hours, pretty much all of it's going to evaporate out of your portable unit. So if you go on trips during the day, like playing golf, it's fabulous. But if you're going on an overnight trip, it's not. You can't use it. And the other thing is, what we do, because of our drivers, those big metal things weigh about 250 pounds. So if you live in an apartment building without an elevator, or if you live in a house with a lot of steps, they can't. I don't know how you are, but we evaluate your home environment too, because we do have to consider the drivers. Is it safe for them to try to haul this thing up your stairs? So if it's an unsafe situation, you really can't be set up on liquid. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine, you're fine. I told you guys to help me out.
So the little tanks, that's what you use when you actually need to use your oxygen.
When you leave the house.
Otherwise,
When you
it's
leave
just
the house.
stored in this other thing.
Mhm.
This is what you use when you're at home, watching TV,
Okay, so
sleeping.
you are actually using it from
Yes.
that big tank also.
Then when you go out, you use this.
But it doesn't evaporate or whatever from the big tanks like it does the little tanks over a period of time.
This one, some of them can be like, I think the small ones can last a week
Oh, okay.
on 2 liters. The big ones can last up to 2 weeks on 2 liters of
Okay.
oxygen.
Well, that's not because it leaks. She's asking if it leaks.
Oh, well, it doesn't, the refrigerator part, the reservoir, it will eventually, if you fill it up and you leave it for a couple months, it will eventually all evaporate.
Oh,
And when you
okay.
have it in your home, it does vent, because it does build pressure up, and then there's a vent valve that goes shh. So you'll hear that as the pressure builds in the big unit. It will kind of, it has a little valve that lets out the pressure, but it does eventually evaporate.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, how often someone gonna come to fill it?
Every
Like
day.
for,
You're gonna use it, you gotta fill it that day.
No, I mean the big
like
thing.
this one,
The big one.
some companies are I think they do it on a 2-week rotation depending on your usage. Either 1 to 2 weeks, so it still has to be filled like on a weekly or, twice a month basis. If you leave, like if you go to the hospital and you're in the hospital for a week and you come back home, it's empty, you still need to be on a recurring schedule with your oxygen provider.
Is this the liquid oxygen that
Yeah.
will be difficult to get?
Yes, because right now with liquid oxygen, like I was telling you earlier, the price of liquid oxygen went up. Basically, the cost of providing liquid oxygen has gotten really high, and the reimbursement for liquid oxygen has gotten really low. So what companies are doing, some are just basically phasing out liquid oxygen. Some are having, if they still have patients on liquid oxygen, they're still continuing to provide that. But once you get off of the liquid oxygen, you can't get it back. Is that the case with you guys as well too? So basically whoever's grandfathered in liquid oxygen, they can still use it. It's not, you can definitely call around, ask, which other companies are still providing it, but I can speak for Lincare. We are not taking new liquid oxygen patients. We're trying to phase it out slowly. And that's the way with you guys.
Why are you paying that?
Because it's so expensive. Delivering,
The government's not covering the cost.
Medicare pays and Rachel, I'm sorry.
No, no, you're fine.
Medicare pays the same amount no matter what modality you use. They pay us the same amount of money.
Right, so the liquid costs you more.
The liquid costs more, and the fact that you have to go out and deliver every couple of weeks, that costs a whole lot of money. So, if you do a calculation, if a truck has to come out more than twice a month, you've lost money that month on your patient. I mean, it is a dollars and cents, at this point in time, it's a dollars and cents thing. And it's the most expensive liquid form of oxygen.
You still have to come out to deliver tanks, so what's the difference?
The cost for oxygen tanks, it's not, I can only speak for, for myself. And Jolene can, tell you guys about, Roberts later. But basically, oxygen tanks, the cost isn't as bad.
It's a whole lot cheaper.
It's a lot cheaper, but like she said, it's a one flat rate, whether you get one oxygen tank or 20 oxygen tanks. We don't bill per oxygen tank. That's why when you ask us for small oxygen tanks, we try to check you first for what's called a conserving device. That's the one that would only give you oxygen when you inhale, and when you exhale, it's not dispensing any oxygen. So your oxygen tanks will last you longer. Because otherwise you're gonna have to go through so many oxygen tanks on a weekly basis if you're using the small ones. The objective is for a patient to use a conserving device, because that would help you a lot. Because that would, lengthen the oxygen tank that you use. You don't have to carry so many, but every patient is different. Not everybody can tolerate that device. And I'll talk to you in more detail about a conserving device later. Another thing about liquid oxygen is you don't have to worry about plugging it. And if you lose power, it's that's a great thing. Like, you don't have to worry about blackouts. You're still gonna have your oxygen delivery. I think that's it for that one. Okay, portable oxygen concentrator. Who has one? Okay. Alright, so which one do you have?
Well, I don't know that definitely don't have one like that, but I have the blue concentrator that was on the picture.
And who makes it?
Lincare is mine.
I didn't pay her.
The company.
Perhaps you know.
Huh?
Perhaps you know what you speak of.
No. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Perhaps you know what you speak of.
Oh, I don't. Do you have it on you right now? Your liquid, your portable?
No, I have it at night, and I have it for exertion and things like
Okay.
that. But a couple of.
What color is it?
Blue. It's the blue.
No, the small one. The portable concentrator.
I just have the big concentrator
Yeah,
at
okay.
night, and then the tanks, the metal tanks.
Got it, okay. So
I've used that one there, they call it a sequel or something
Yeah.
like that?
That's right.
Yeah, I've used it, I went down in Florida for 2 weeks and I used, but I only use it at night.
Okay. So this is one, this is called the sequel, and this is called the Invacare XPO2. There's several different ones in the market. There's, I would say, about 15 out there, or more. Okay, so a portable oxygen concentrator, it's basically like your big machine in a smaller compact unit. And when I say smaller compact unit, it still varies between 5 to 20 pounds. The sequel, the one that you used, I think that's about 16, 18 pounds. It's still a heavy device. You have to think it's a machine, it's actually, an oxygen tank is much lighter than a portable oxygen concentrator. And like I said, everybody wants it right now. Some portable oxygen concentrators or POC, so when you talk to your oxygen provider and they tell you, I want, a POC this, a POC that. That's what it means, a portable oxygen concentrator. Some of them are airline approved. So if you're gonna buy one out of your own pocket, you have to check that. You have to check if it's actually airline approved, because you don't want to spend about $3,000 to $4,000 on a machine that you can't use when you travel by plane. This is the only one that's approved for airline usage, airline trips. You can't use your oxygen tank, you can't use your liquid oxygen on an airplane. And you can check with your airline company if they'll provide you with the oxygen, but that is gonna be really expensive. So if you're on oxygen and you're gonna be traveling by plane, you have to really plan ahead. You have to give your providers enough notice to make sure that they can provide you with a portable oxygen concentrator and be able to, have one for you for the time that you're out. Yes?
Do anybody remember the lady came in, she had her oxygen, it was strapped to her eyeglasses? Y'all remember that?
Our cannulas through our eyes. Right.
You do? You know about that stuff too?
Yeah, that one I know it's not paid for by insurance.
No.
I don't know how much it cost, but she said it was definitely worth it. Yeah, I know exactly which one.
It has more to do with
Or-
vanity than anything else.
The
It
vanity
doesn't do
just
any
looks-
better than a regular cannula.
Right.
But if you're vain, and you don't,
Trying to look good, right.
right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, and then the battery life, they vary per unit and per patient. What that means, if you're using, like a portable concentrator that's on pulse, most of them, they're based on 20 breaths per minute. Meaning, if you exert a lot of, effort and you walk, and then when you walk, you breathe like this, and it means you're using a lot of the oxygen, so it's dispensing and dispensing and dispensing. You're using up the battery. Every time that machine dispenses your oxygen, you're using up the battery, and then that will shorten the amount of time that you can actually use your portable concentrator.
Well, that's good.
I think, and don't quote me on this. Okay, on continuous, like let's say you're on 2 liters and you want the sequel, that's about 18 pounds. On 2 liters continuous, it'll last you about 2 hours. But if you're using it on pulse, meaning on demand, like it'll only give you oxygen when you inhale, it can last like about 4 hours. And again, that's based on 20 breaths per minute. For something that's pulse, a nurse or a therapist has to evaluate you. So I suggest before you buy a portable oxygen concentrator, you need to ask your oxygen provider the pros and cons about this, this type of machine. Ask them which one's their favorite. They'll tell you which one doesn't break a lot, because we don't, we'll get a lot of phone calls on a certain kind of machine, and we know that's not really a good machine to put out there because of the amount of phone calls we're getting about, this isn't working, this is just breaking on me. And you have to get evaluated first. And the reason for that is they'll give you a lot more choices of portable oxygen concentrators out there. It's not meant for somebody who has a high liter flow. The highest it can go on continuous is 3 liters. Is that correct? Yeah. It's 3 liters. On pulse, it can go, I believe, all the way up to 6 liters.